Hey everybody, I'm Karina Sue and welcome to my channel Strength Karma. Today I'm really excited to be interviewing someone who is an expert in nutrition, and we're going to be talking about women over 50 and their nutritional needs. So I might like to introduce you to Emily Hope, who is a New Zealand registered nutritionist. She lives here in the same town as I do, and thanks Emily for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and just to kind of set the scene for people?
Sure. So I was born and bred here in Blenheim, and then I moved to Otago to the university down there to study nutrition. So I did a Bachelor of Science major in human nutrition, and then I had the opportunity to stay on and do my master's in that area. So I studied 225 toddlers between the ages of 12 and 20 months and chased them around the bottom of the South Island studying their zinc and growth status. And then I've worked since in refugee health, workplace wellness, up in Auckland as a public health nutritionist, in corporate nutrition, and kind of food, manufacturing nutrition, and now I have a private practice here in Marlborough.
That's terrific. It sounds like you have a pretty varied background there, but within the same field. So super excited to be talking with you about why and how women over 50 have special nutritional needs, because I know I'm approaching that milestone myself pretty soon, and I also belong to quite a few different online groups, and I know that comes up a lot in that age group, that our bodies start changing, perhaps our nutritional needs start changing. So could you tell us, Emily, a little bit about how women over 50, how we have some special needs at this stage in life as opposed to when they were younger?
Yeah, totally. So, aging is such a natural and beautiful process, but as we age, and especially as we move, over the age of 50, our metabolism can slow down. And so the amount of food that we, I guess, can eat to meet our needs is lower, but our nutrient needs, specifically for certain nutrients, are higher. And obviously in that time as well, hormonal changes occur and we have a loss of estrogen, and that affects our bone health and bone strength. So there are lots of changes, but I think the key thing for women over 50 is why your energy needs may not be as high as they were in your, say, 20s or 30s, because you may not need as much energy. Your nutrient needs are really high.
That's a really great distinction that you made actually there, because I think a lot of people get those things confused. Like they don't really think about, they think about calories like like the macro, like protein, carbs and fat, but they don't really think about the nutrient density of food necessarily. So I think what you said is actually really interesting, that distinction. Do you find that the people get those things sort of confused or mixed up?
I think there is a whole world out there, and especially potentially in women who are approaching 50 or over 50, where they grow up in a world of Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, and I think there was even one called Nutrilife, where there was a big focus on counting calories, and it was all about energy in and energy out, and there wasn't a big focus on the nutrients that you were eating and how your body needed those to not only survive but to thrive. And so I see a lot of women come in and they have segregated food into good and bad categories, and they set themselves rules. I can only eat good foods and I can't eat bad foods, and they forget about the whole point of food is that it should be enjoyable and eat nutrient dense foods, because on the whole they will make you feel great. So yeah, I do think people forget about nutrients. We literally need them to survive, and not only survive, but if we're eating well, we're going to thrive. And that can happen in whatever age group you're in, as long as you are being intuitive with your body and understanding what your body needs.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so what was an example of a nutrient that women over 50 sort of need more of in your opinion? Yeah.
So definitely calcium. Calcium, obviously, with hormonal changes and menopause, our bodies have a loss of estrogen, and that hormone is really beneficial to bone health. So when you have a loss of estrogen, you end up with bone loss, and obviously you have bone loss, you end up with weaker bones and a higher risk of osteoporosis. And many people will be aware of that. You know, older adults are at higher risk of osteoporosis, but it can be offset if you are keeping your intake of calcium high. So obviously foods that are high in calcium are things like dairy products. They're just naturally rich in calcium. There are a whole lot of other foods that provide calcium, like Chinese cabbage, figs, hummus, you know, chickpeas, dried apricots, dried figs. So you will get calcium from a range of foods, but I think even if women aren't having dairy-based products or milk, choosing almond milk or oat milk that is fortified with calcium, so they will at least be getting calcium that way. So the goal is, you know, you should be aiming for calcium-rich food 2 to 3 times a day, because your needs are higher at that point. That's the same in a young child. The needs for an older woman and a young child in terms of calcium are the same. Yeah, so calcium is a good example. And then the other thing that can happen with age is obviously our muscle mass declines by around 1 to 2% each year over the age of 50. And of course, when you have less muscle mass, your metabolism is going to be lower as well. And so that's the rate at which your body is burning through energy each day. And to offset that would be to be physically active, maintain and keep any muscle that you have. And that will also, that physical activity will build bone strength. So that will help to combat any age-related decline you may have in your bone strength and bone mass.
Right. And Emily, what are your thoughts about protein intake? Like, I know for like women who are older, like who are maybe like over the age of 65 or like even in their 70s, like elderly, I guess getting towards the elderly category, yeah, they need more protein. What about protein demands? Do you think that women over the age of 50, like say between 50 and 60, do they need to have more protein? Do you think should they be thinking more about that at this time in the life as well?
Absolutely. So I think women can tend to rely on like easy snacks, crackers, you know, toast and things that are naturally low in protein. And we know for sure through science now that the best way to keep protein up in a healthy way is to spread it out evenly across the day. So you want a good source of protein at breakfast time, at lunchtime, at dinner time, and you should definitely have a source of protein at your snack. So what that means is if you're a cracker, you know, lady, and you love to have crackers, it should be with you know, some good hard cheese on there, or some ricotta cheese. You know, you might have crackers and cheese and a handful of nuts and seeds. You might have Greek yogurt with some fruit. You might have vegetable sticks with hummus. You always want to have a source of protein whenever you eat. That will provide the protein or the amino acids that you need for your muscle mass, but it will also help to fill you up, you know, and satisfy you. So that's really, really important. The other thing that's a really, I think, important note is as we age and our hormones change, often our digestive function becomes less efficient, or our, I guess, our digestive function becomes more sluggish. So increasing fiber with age is really important to keep you regular. And so where you would normally choose, I don't know, rice crackers, for example, they would have very little fiber in them to support digestive health. Maybe as simple as swapping to a higher fiber cracker like Vita-Wheat or something like that. And then your protein-rich topping might be, you know, dipping it in hummus. And that would be a really easy substitute that people could do that would have, you know, so much more fiber, more protein, and loads more nutrients in there. And the same with breakfast. You know, if for 40 years or 50 years you've woken up and you've had jam on toast every single morning, you know, a simple change to make that more nutrient dense might be, if you currently use white toast, you might change to a whole grain or a wholemeal toast. And something that would be higher in protein is obviously popping 1 or 2 eggs on top of your toast, or peanut butter, or ricotta cheese and avocado. You know, any simple substitution that would allow you to enjoy more nutrients, you know, in terms of fiber and protein and color from the rainbow from fruits and vegetables, will benefit the body.
So you touched on before, Emily, about metabolism slowing and things like that. So is that what other reason, and also our hormonal levels? So I often would you say that was the main reason why? Because so often I belong to these different chat groups and forums and things like that, and these women who are saying, you know, I haven't changed how I eat. I've done actually more exercise than I used to before, and I'm still getting that. I'm still putting on weight and I'm not happy with how I feel. So is it, I mean, what would you suggest to somebody who wants to start feeling a little bit better about how they feel in their body?
Yeah, it is really common. And I see lots of women that will email me and come in and say, can you help me lose weight? And my answer is, well, I don't use scales. I don't believe in measuring health or a woman's self-esteem by stepping on the scales or a number. So my first advice would be just to get rid of your scales. And I think a better way to do it is to actually really be in tune with your body as to how different foods make you feel. And if you're really in tune with your body, as in eating when you're hungry, stopping when you feel satisfied, and eating the foods that give you energy and make you feel great, you should naturally find a level, a way of eating and moving where you'll naturally feel quite comfortable and happy in yourself. And I think a way of doing that is using, how clothes feel and how confident and happy you feel in your body. I think when you find a natural way of eating and moving that actually resonates with you or feels good for you, for example, you're not just eating porridge every morning because your husband is, even when you hate it and it makes you feel bloated for the rest of the day. Find something that you like to eat. And if you're going to run with a friend, but you literally loathe that and you're sore for, don't run. Find something else that you love to do, that you feel good doing, that your body, enjoys. Eat in a way, that is mostly wholesome, because obviously foods that have nutrients in them and are good for us generally will make us feel good because our body needs those for the functions that it needs to do. And, there is room for pleasure food, that's fine. Maybe as we get older, we don't have a great vast amount of room that we did in our 20s or whatever, but if we're finding a natural way of eating and moving that works for us, you will naturally come to a point where you feel happy and confident in how you look and how you feel. And I think that's far more important than trying to aim for a certain number on a scale. And if you never get there, then you're just discouraged forever. You need to find a sustainable way of eating and moving that you can maintain and feel great for a long period of time.
So what do you think are some common myths about food and diets that you would like to dispel?
Oh gosh. Well, there's lots of different trends, isn't there? I mean, there's lots of people eating keto or paleo or gluten-free or dairy-free, and I don't have anything against any of those types of eating, as long as you're eating them because you've come to that conclusion that that way of eating works for you because you've figured that out, not just because you're chasing a trend because everybody else is doing it. So I think it's just about, I really think there's something about being intuitive. It's called intuitive eating. So you really get to a point where you can understand what your body is trying to tell you. It's like if our body is telling us we need to go to the toilet, but we don't, and we pee our pants, it'd be a total disaster. But when people are hungry and they're like, oh no, I'm hungry, but I'll just ignore it. And that's when we get to the point where we end up overeating in a few hours' time. It's like we have to honor those cues that our body is trying to tell us. And I think with dieting or certain trends of eating, I think it's just really important, as long as you are eating a range of food from, a number of different food groups, and you're getting a whole pile of nutrients in each day, it doesn't really matter how you eat, as long as, it's wholesome and it makes you feel good. I think that's the key point.
It sounds like that you're not a proponent of any one particular way of eating, but more that the person discovers for herself what works for them.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that if most of the time, you're eating a wide variety of really nutritious food, you'll be getting all of the nutrients that your body needs. There might be certain, for example, certain people that may not eat any seafood, or they don't like long-tail fish like salmon, or tuna and they may need to supplement with an omega-3 supplement. There might be people in the lower half of the South Island that over winter they just don't get enough sunshine hours to reach their vitamin D recommendations. They may need a vitamin D supplement during winter. But on the whole, you know, if people are eating a range of foods and honouring hunger and fullness cues, they should be in a good state to eat really well.
And so what would be some 3 take-home tips for someone, as a woman who's watching this, if you're watching this and you're a woman in your 50s, to begin eating healthier in a sustainable way? What would be 3 take-home tips that you would want to share?
Have a source of protein at, you know, each meal and snack. Every time you eat, there should be a source of protein on there. So, you know, if you think about your plate, especially lunch and dinner, half of that should be colourful vegetables, or you know, trying to eat the rainbow. When you look down at you know, a meal and you kind of take the time to view that plate, there should be some color in it in the form of vegetables. And what else? Don't be afraid of wholesome fat. A lot of women think that if they eat fat, it will make them fat. It's not true. You know, we need fat for our hair and our heart and our brain, and to send clear messages around our body, because our brain requires lots of fat. But the source which you get it from is really important. So things like olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds. You know, having a source of fat at each meal and snack is really important too.
I remember reading something quite interesting, that women we actually can use fat more effectively as fuel than men can. Men actually require more carbohydrates, and we women, because
Right.
I guess with our bodies, and in fact we have like more or higher levels of body fat anyway to bear children, that it
Yes.
actually suits us a little bit more. Would you agree with that, Emily?
I haven't seen any research on that, but I will go and look it up. I think fat is a really satisfying food, and it can become, you know, it's a really wholesome part of meals and snacks. If you picture, like, you know, you might have, I don't know, toast with pesto and avocado and eggs on, you know, so you've got healthy fats coming from the pesto because it's made with olive oil and the avocado, and then lunch is, you know, a big beautiful salad with roasted kumara and some leftover meat from the night before, and you've got some nuts and seeds through there. You know, things like hemp and chia are going to provide those plant-based sources of really long-chain fats, which are really important. So they yeah, are really lovely food to have as part of each meal and snack.
Mm-hmm. Well, it actually just sounds delicious, what you just mentioned just then. We also had
You've had
lunch.
lunch.
Exactly. Well, look, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me today. And can people, if people want to find out more about you, you're on Facebook, I think, right? I think under
Yes.
Emily Hope Nutrition.
Yes, you can go to www.hopenutrition.org.nz. That's my website, and they've got my email and my number, and yes, so those are my contact details.
Awesome.
And all up there.
And if someone wants to get in touch with you, that would be cool for them to send you an email, or?
Yes, email's best. Yep, email
Okay.
is the best way.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me today and talking about the nutritional needs of women over the age of 50. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. I post content weekly. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.